All right, we're here in the mobile Zoom studio today in Bathurst. Great to have Daniel Munro here with us from IBM, Managing Director of IBM Technical, involved with a range of defence activities. We just had a great session here in Bathurst. Tell us a bit more about what IBM's doing here in Bathurst.
Oh, doing multiple levels of what we're doing here in Bathurst. First and foremost, we've got an innovation centre in here. So what we're trying to do is we win jobs from across the country. We send them here to be delivered. Right? Okay. So there's people on the ground and working, but almost as important, if not more, we've got work with CSU here at the university to just help co-design courses across broad range of IT, right? So we're looking at AI, looking at automation, but I mean, it basically nets down to how can we give these university students real practical time working with companies so they know what they're getting in for, and hopefully they can fall in love with it, right, based on their degree.
No doubt. And you've created a lot of jobs in Victoria. You're working with universities across Australia, in Perth, Edith Cowan
in Perth, and the Federation University in Ballarat. So for our work here for the Innovation Centre, it's relatively new, less than 5 years. We've been doing it for 20 years down at Ballarat. There are several hundred folks down there. We're connected to the Defence Network. They do a lot of work on Defence's enterprise resource planning capabilities. So this is big and exciting stuff. Yeah. And what's most important is that most of the students that are going through, right, the numbers that I heard were fascinating. Like 90% of them stay in the region. Of those, 70% come and work with us in the region, and they're still with us 7 years later. So we must be doing something right, both in terms of the university courses and in the in the company itself.
We certainly want much more of that, and we spoke about this morning being regional, AUKUS being this whole of nation opportunity that the Prime Minister has talked about. We certainly want to make sure the regions can benefit from what's coming for the decades to come. But I think it's fair to say, if you think about IBM, you think this big company, and yet you focus on SMEs and small business and how you can support their efforts.
Well, I mean, it's not just me saying this. We're not going to do it any other way, right? When we're close to, I don't know the exact number, but when we're close to 0% unemployment, people have choices, right? So and one of the choices is where they live. So whilst it might be a bit mercenary in terms of, well, I need these people, right? Well, it's actually, if we can co-create and go to where they are, we find the people, they find the jobs, so we expand things, and there are better people than me with the numbers here, but it starts to get a rolling effect, doesn't it, right? Because you talk about getting these IT, AI, automation skills for AUKUS for defence, they're equally applicable to what they're doing with the new technology around agriculture, around mining, and everything else that's happening out here at Bathurst.
And that's what we heard today. We had companies that are in fabrication, robotics welding. We've got the Chamber of Commerce. We're represented here. We're talking about local businesses coming together. But when we hear about things like quantum computing, that's a game changer. And we've got people like Michelle Simmons at the university working with teams in the US and the UK. The future's bright.
Indeed. And it's how do we join those things together, right? That's what I love about what you're doing with the forum, because at the end of the day, if we don't join those dots and those relationships, none of this is going to happen. I think I said we had our friends in Fujitsu here as well, okay? And I was over summarizing, but they're very good at putting things together. We're very good at building them, right? Now, if we can bring those together, and there will always be gaps, where are we going to find the people to fill those gaps? So let's talk about Bathurst. I grew up in the region as well, and this was a conversation we didn't have in the 80s, right? So how can we keep that moving?
Yeah. And I think today we're at Charles Sturt University. So great to have some of our great researchers coming together. But the facilities here in Bathurst too are great. So to being local industry together to meet university people, quite often there's a mismatch. But when they find out that there's researchers in their own town, we can open up new opportunity that way too.
So the right people, right, the right facilities, the right organisations, and frankly, I went for a drive around here. It's a beautiful place, isn't it? Right. So why wouldn't you want to come here?
And that's a very good point. I went up to Mount Panorama last night. It was a great sunset, but geez, you just want to unleash the power and drive around, don't you?
Yes, but there are our friends in blue, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, but that's exactly what we're doing. So we're running this series right across the country, unleashing the power of AUKUS. It's a great session here this morning. Really great that you could join us and talk about what IBM are offering. We just look forward to doing more of this right around the country. Thanks for joining us.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.